and nothing else matters. Never care for what they know. Top of the morning to you, laddies and lassies. Or, as I like to say, what up, nerds? My name is Leslie. Welcome to The Nerdy Narrative. On this channel, I like to talk about all sorts of bookish related things, any science fiction, fantasy, horror, manga, and whatever other genres I decide to dip my toes into. On today's episode of Fun, I'm going to share with you my March TBR. Let's kick it off with what I will be reading on my Kindle. I have really just let my NetGalley shelf fall by the wayside. It's time to give it some love. So the first book on that shelf that I picked to read for this month is The Arc for the Conductors by Nicole Glover. This is a historical fantasy around the Underground Railroad and witches. I am very excited to read this book. I love the cover. That is actually what first drew me to request that title, and then the premise was the second thing that drew me in. I can't wait to read it. My friend Angela from Literature Science Alliance read it recently and she enjoyed it, so I'm very excited to read it. My next Kindle read is going to be The Gulp by Alan Baxter. This, I believe, is a short story collection centered around a town called Culpeper. I've not read any of Alan Baxter's work yet, so his short story collection is where I'm starting, just to get a taste of his writing style, see if I like it and want to move forward through his novels. But this is a buddy read that I am going to be doing with Jay from J Maddox Entertainment. If you haven't checked out Jay's channel, I'm going to have him linked below. He has just really been bringing the laughs lately, plus he's got some editing skills, y'all. So definitely give Jay a visit and tell him I sent you. My next Kindle read is also from my NetGalley shelf, and that is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I can't get enough of this man. I know y'all are probably tired of hearing me talk about him, but ever since I read The Only Good Indians, I have just been a little obsessed with reading his work. He recently tweeted a link on Twitter that was a read now for this arc. I had requested it over a month ago. It was still pending. It would seem that if NetGalley were going to do a read now link, they would approve the reviewers who requested the e-arc as well. They didn't. There's no way to cancel a request, or if there is, I haven't found it yet. So I was lamenting my woes to Brad Proctor, and he came up with the genius idea, create a new NetGalley account and do the read now through that. And that is exactly what I did, and all of our friends on Brad's Discord did as well. So this is going to be a mass buddy read over on his channel starting in March 1st. I'm so excited, I can't wait. So the next book I want to mention is Severed by Joshua Marcella. So the author's name might be a little familiar to some of you who have been around a while, and that is because I read his debut novella Scratches this past October, and I really loved it. Severed is the prequel to Scratches, and the scariest part about Scratches is what the prequel is about. And I am very excited. Severed is a very highly anticipated read for me. I can't wait to get my hands on it and get started on it this month. So in the month of March, I will complete my read of The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This is a read-along that I'm participating in with the Codex Cantina, Christy Lewis, Victoria from A Musical Bookworm, and the History Shelf. I will have those channels linked below. If this is a book you've thought about tackling and you're not sure if it's for you, I'm going to have the Codex Cantina's Before You Read video linked down below for you to watch. Christy Lewis has also hosted a couple of live streams discussing what we've read so far on her channel. I'm going to have those linked below if you want to check those out if you've read them, because I'm sure we'll be discussing spoilers in those. My friend Evie from She Was Only Evie is hosting a buddy read for Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, the 1818 edition, over on the Shelf Space Discord. I will have the link to that Discord down below. I will also link Evie's channel. You guys that have been around for a while, or at least since November, I did read Romantic Outlaws, The Extraordinary Lives of Mary Shelley and Mary Wollstonecraft. That was written by Charlotte Gordon, and I absolutely loved it. It was fascinating, and I got to see all of the environmental and just relationships that influenced Mary Shelley's writing of this work. Now, I have seen countless movies and remakes of Frankenstein. I've never read the book, but I wanted to as soon as I read Romantic Outlaws. And you know, I'm almost glad that I've never read it, because I think I'm going to enjoy it more knowing what Mary Shelley was going through as she crafted the story. Next up is Motherless Brooklyn by Jonathan Lethem. I know this is a movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I really want to watch it. Summer from Cozy Reading with Quaker Cats told me the movie was great and the characters that were in it, and I have to see this movie. But I am going to read the book first. So each month I do a wheel of names to choose a random patron who's going to pick a book for me to read and review. That patron for the month of March was actually Evie, and this is the one that she chose for me because she's also reading it and was curious to know what I was going to think about it. But from what I gather, it's a noir detective story. I am so in for that. Cannot wait. I am also extremely excited to continue reading through the Red Rising series, and that means next on deck will be Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. I have heard that this is the favorite of the series by so many of my friends and subscribers. I cannot wait to read it. I have loved Red Rising just immensely. Red Rising had me hooked by the 3rd chapter. I just wanted to sit and binge that sucker. So I just can't even imagine what's going to happen when I get into Golden Sun. And for probably one of my most anticipated reads for this month that I have literally thought about for weeks and have just had to slap my hand to keep from picking up so as to not derail my February TBR any further than I already had, I will be reading Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo, which will complete the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I absolutely ate Shadow and Bone up. I mean, it was just a fantastic experience for me. It was fun. It was just so light and fluffy. I will definitely sandwich these two books between some of my more serious, more complex reads for the month, but I can't wait. I just can't, guys. I have thought about this series since I read the first one. I really wanted to binge all 3 together. It just wasn't in the cards. It wasn't in the cards, but by golly, I put them in the cards for March. March is just looking like it is the month of highly anticipated reads for me, because I'm also going to read The Drawing of the Three by Stephen King, which is the 2nd book in the Dark Tower series. Again, so many people that have read this series say this is their favorite, so I am absolutely dying to get my nose stuck in this one. I'm also excited because The Drawing of the Three is listed in The Science of Stephen King, which is written by Meg Heftal and Kelly Florence. They go in depth into the things that happen in the King universe and what happens to the characters, and could it really happen in real life, and if so, what would it kind of look like? So I'm really excited to delve into this one after I finish, because it's probably going to have spoilers in it. But guys, I am really looking forward to continuing down the path to the Dark Tower. My most highly anticipated new release that I'm going to read for March is going to be The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornacek. This is a witch who gets banished. She meets up with the trickster god Loki. They get it on. We get some kids. I think it's going to be a fantastic tale. I'm really excited. It's Viking inspired, but this was my most anticipated release for the month of February, so I'm looking forward to getting my nose stuck into this one. Next on the list is Before They Were Hanged, which is book 2 in the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. This one I am reading with Steve Talks About Books and Stuff and Jolene Reads. This series has been an absolute delight in more than one way. It's just a fresh, fun take on fantasy and the tropes that you find in fantasy, at least in my opinion. And it is my most favorite audiobook experience I've ever had, hands down. In fact, because the narrator, Stephen Pacey, is so wonderful, it's had me attempting to learn again and train myself to read and listen at the same time. And it's just been an absolute blast, but it's so good. It's so good. This trilogy is on the fast track to becoming a favorite, so I can't wait to get into this one. So for my self-published read for the month, I'm going to read The Dark That Dwells by Matt Dignan and Ryan Roddy. This is a husband and wife author team, and I am so excited to read this book. Several of my friends have already read it, really enjoyed it. It's marketed as a cross between Firefly and Star Wars, and that's really all I needed to know to pick this one up. I even went ahead and asked the authors. I'm like, guys, I have a feeling I'm gonna love this. Where are we at on book 2? And they told me they are currently working on book 2. I am going to buddy read it with Well Read and Half Dead. She mentioned when I hauled this one a couple of months ago that she'd be interested in reading it with me, and she picked it up on her Kindle. So I'm going to hit her up to see when is a good time to get into this one in March. Of course, I'm excited to let you guys know what I think about it as I go. As far as manga in March, I am going to continue my read through of Ouran High School Host Club. But I also have a bit of a twist. Una and I are going to delve into comics. Yep, you heard me, comics. And with us stepping into the world of comics, Una and I have something new in the works that I hope you guys really enjoy. So you're definitely going to want to keep an eye both on this channel and his for what we have in store for you guys. But the comic chosen is called Nailbiter by Joshua Williamson. The only thing I know about this comic is that it is a legit horror comic. So you guys know over the last year I've really developed an addiction to horror stories. So let's see how that's gonna go as far as comics. Because I've always been able to somewhat handle horror more if I'm reading it. When it's a visual thing, like a movie or a show, The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, that's a whole different ballgame. So we'll see how this turns out. And finally, my reread for the month of March is going to be Nightmare by Chad Nicholas. This also happens to be the Shelf Published In book pick of the month for March. If you haven't heard, Shelf Published In is a book club where we read indie or self-published authors. Right now, it is currently a Discord-only book club. There may be plans in the future to evolve into more, but currently it's Discord only. So if you're interested in reading Nightmare by Chad Nicholas, or you read it and you want to join in the conversation because this is a really fun book to talk about with one another, definitely hit the description box down below and click the link to join the Discord for Shelf Published In. I know it sounded and looked like a lot of books, and you're all the time hearing me say, oh, I've got to stop with these overly ambitious TBRs. It sounded like a lot, guys, but they're really, for the most part, skinny. And I know the 2 Leigh Bardugo books I'm probably going to read in like 2 days time because they're just so digestible. There's some really great books on my list this month. I am definitely going to feel like I found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So there you have it. Those are all of my choices for the month of March. Hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you plan to read next month. Have you read any of these books that I'm going to read? What did you think? Let me know down below, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, more than I can ever express. I hope your morning has gotten off to a wonderful start. I hope the rest of your day is absolutely fantastic. I'll see you soon.